We've talked a lot about the already crowded field of Democrats lining up to challenge Donald Trump in 2020, but with a count now at 10 who've made it official in some capacity so far, it's some of the unofficials who are leading the pack in polling, like former VP Joe Biden, who's reportedly set to make a decision in the coming weeks and boasts an 80% favorability rating among Democratic voters, and Senator Bernie Sanders, who's close behind with 60%. Next on the list, Senator Elizabeth Warren, 57% favorability, the highest of any candidate who's taken official steps to run. And all three have a lot in common. Age, at 69, 76, and 77. Any one of them would be among the oldest ever elected to the White House. And they have the political baggage that comes with it. With all the recent criticism over Biden's handling of the Anita Hill hearings, Warren's ancestry controversies, and accusations of sexism and sexual harassment in Sanders' 2016 campaign, will baggage that might have been overlooked in years past get past Democratic voters at a time when the only thing that matters is beating Donald Trump, they say. I'm joined by Shannon O'Brien, Shannon's former state treasurer and former Democratic candidate for governor. Good to see you. Shaynah Barnes is a former Brockton City Councilor who served as a Clinton delegate during the Democratic National Convention. Good to see you. And newly elected Democratic State Rep Jon Santiago, who recently defeated long-term Representative Byron Rushing to represent parts of Boston. It's a pleasure to meet you, Doctor. Thank you for being here. The growing body of conventional wisdom, I think, Shannon, is that the best candidate for most Democrats is not the one whose ideology is a perfect match for that voter, but the one who is most likely to beat Donald Trump. Do you subscribe to that notion?
I think that I subscribe to that notion right now, and I think that that's what a lot of people are looking for right now. But there are so many candidates and potential candidates. I think we don't know right now what that actual formula is going to be. Some people want it to be a fighter who's going to go toe-to-toe with Trump. Some want it to be someone who's rising above that. We don't know yet.
But we do know that in polls so far, Shaynah, that people are saying electability is what it's about. There's a Monmouth University poll late January of Democratic voters. Do not agree with, but stronger against Trump. Crushes agree with, but hard time beating Trump. I know it just captures a moment in time, but that does seem to be the mood, does it not?
You know, I think it's a little mix of both. I was thinking about that as I was thinking about what the topic was today, and I was thinking, you know, maybe as a Democratic Party, we need to all kind of get on one page, one message that we can all stand behind. But then again, we also have to take into account.
Good luck with that.
I know. Because I'm
You're
thinking
right.
even our own state party, we're kind of behind on getting, together with some things. So just nationally, I think that we need to look at that particular aspect and also the beatability of this particular administration.
Let me add one more piece of evidence before you weigh in. Chuck Todd from Meet the Press was on with us on the radio this morning. Here's what Chuck had to say about this very issue.
I can tell you this, in my focus group in my house, my focus group doesn't care who the nominee is. They just care about winning. It's like, look, just don't get in the way. Don't hand them more material. Don't make this harder. Don't screw this up.
So you want to weigh in?
I mean, Mr. Todd brings up an interesting point. I think it's a bit early. I mean, we don't know who all the candidates are going to be. I mean, if we look at 2018 and what was victorious across the board, progressive, moderate candidates who were able to flip Republican seats, it was about issues. I can guarantee the candidate who's going to win, it's not going to be about who's the most anti-Trump, but who's going to do most for the people, whether it's issues, health care, education, economic opportunity. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
You know, when Chuck was weighing in, he was talking about, had just been speaking about some of those, let me call them liabilities, issues with these candidates, whether it's 2016 female staffers for Sanders saying there was sexism in the campaign, or obviously the Native American issue. And also, a lot of people don't remember this, but Joe Biden was chair of the Judiciary Committee hearing during Anita Hill. Here's one of the things that Professor Hill had to say as recently as November to the Wrap. He said, meaning Joe Biden, he apologized, but he hasn't apologized to me. The statute of limitations has run on an apology. I don't need an apology. I guess my question here is, in normal times, if you really love Warren or you love Biden's politics or you love Sanders' politics, you might overlook those things. But isn't this a different time where people may say there's so many candidates that maybe even though she or he is my first choice, I'll go to a second who's got a cleaner record? You know what I mean?
Perhaps, but I would say that we are a forgiving country. I mean, if you look what happened to Clinton, I mean, he had his own baggage as well. And despite all that, he proved that he could win I'm talking about Bill Clinton himself. So I think
we're so forgiving that not one single Democrat running for Congress this time invited Bill Clinton to campaign with him in the era of Me Too. So we're not that forgiving, are we?
Perhaps. But I think it's the issues that matter most. I mean, I'm in Boston. I grew up in Boston. But there's for a number of years I lived in rural Texas, and a very Trump area. And I guarantee you the issues that people care about here in Boston are very similar to the issues that people care about in Texas. And so, with all the pointing around, I think people just want someone to get things done.
I really hope he is right, by the way, but I need convincing. It's not just this polling. It's anecdotal. Again, I don't know what's true because, as Shannon said, we're at least 10 months away from a primary, hopefully longer away from a primary. We don't know about New Hampshire yet. Do you buy the notion that people are going to say, listen, they may not be perfect, but they share my political vision, so I'm going for him or her?
You can't really say, and just like Chuck Todd said, his focus group at his home. So, I mean, that's a very stylized place to be in your home and asking your children and your wife and your family. But I think it depends on what your perspective is and where you come from and how you as a voter, an educated voter, uneducated voter, somebody who's voting for the first time, somebody who's voted their entire life and seeing the change and want to do something else, depends on what they're bringing into it as well. So it's like a symbiotic relationship. What can the candidate bring to me and what can I do as a citizen to advance that?
All three of you seem to be rejecting my thesis, which is perfectly fine. But let me give you one more try at this. I can't tell you how many Bernie Sanders supporters on the issues I heard saying, I'm not going to be with Sanders because he can't beat Donald Trump. I'm not saying that was true. I have no idea if it was true or not. But there were a lot of people who called our radio show, again, a random sample, who said, I can't be there because even before they knew what a President Trump would mean in real detail, there was the notion that Hillary Clinton can beat him, that Bernie Sanders can't, no?
But issues are very important. But the Democrats tend, as do the Republicans, they tend to have, certain nuances of issues that differentiate them. And certainly, I was listening to Jay Inslee from Washington, who made a very cogent case about climate change, which you never heard the president speak about last night. So the Democrats, I think, in general, are going to have many similar issues that they care about right now. But the issue is, how do you break free? How do you be that genuine person? Because it didn't matter what Trump said. What many people responded to, aside from certain racist themes, but what many people responded to was they believed he's telling us the truth. He's not a politician. And that truth-telling is...
not
and
genuine,
Hillary Clinton,
they argued.
And she was right on the issue. She was right on experience, but she didn't have that feeling of genuineness. I think that is one of the most important things that people are going to have to do. And it's very one-dimensional. I mean, I think that we have to be right on the issues, and I think that we are right on the issues for the most of American voters, but it's how that person presents those issues the right way in this campaign.
And it's not just the candidate, but it's the teams they form. And if they reflect the diversity of America and how grassroots they're going to be. I mean, in my campaign, I knocked on 8,000 doors. I think it's very important that we go
8,000
doors every day, 4 to 8, and on the weekends for 8 hours. And it's very important that we sit down and listen to people. And like I said, whether we're in urban Roxbury or rural Texas, people want to be listened to. And I felt for so long this president hasn't listened to them.
You've been the strongest voice, but all three are saying a variation on the same thing right here about how issues matter. We had a caller today who said, we need somebody who's moderate, who's centrist, that sort of stuff. My radio colleague, Marjorie Egan, immediately cited a poll, which I'll cite to you. How do people feel about something that was radical a few months ago? For example, Elizabeth Warren's notion that we're going to have a wealth tax to create greater equity. 61% of the American public support that, and while only 45% support the notion of the highest marginal tax rate as proposed by Representative Ocasio-Cortez,
and I believe
it's still a plurality by a significant majority.
That was a Fox poll. Fox actually had to talk about that a supermajority of their viewers supported taxes on the wealthiest income earners, and they were almost mad that they had to admit that on TV.
So let's end with this locally, if we can. Joan Vanocchi, I started last night's show by reading from Joan Vanocchi's column, where she basically said, and I have the words in front of me, Elizabeth Warren's cooked, for the reasons that I was mentioning a couple of minutes ago. But Elizabeth Warren, at least of the candidates, as I said, who are close to, has the most solid, long-term, genuine, progressive record. She hasn't recreated herself. So Is that going to sell? And people are going to say, listen, despite the Native American thing, which may make me uncomfortable, I can live with that because she's the one.
I think so. I think the Republicans have done a masterful job of attaching the word socialism to these issues. But if you take them out independently, you'll find a lot of support, as was the case in this. And I think that's across the board, whether it's healthcare, whether it's economic opportunity. And I think, I'm in favor. I think she's going to do a fantastic job.
You're nodding in agreement there? I'm not asking for an endorsement of her. I'm just saying that they overlook this thing that a lot of us are the talking heads are talking about and decide.
I think so. I think so. I think when it came out early on, it was a big deal, but it's kind of lost a little bit of its steam. And I get, the card that just came out, the official document that just came out, that it's on there, but it doesn't. I don't think it's going to have any legs, and I think people are going to maybe mitigate. How bad is that to what we have or to what we could have? So it's the evil that you know versus the one you don't know.
Give the last 15 seconds.
And I just think that every campaign starts up with she can't win, he can't win. This is their weakness. Campaigns are run. And that's what this is all about. It's how you lay out that message, how you present yourself, how you deal with adversity. And people will fall out for lots of different reasons, and some will rise up.
I hope all three of you are right. Pleasure to meet you. Good luck in the legislature. Nice to see you again. Shannon, as always, really appreciate your time, all three of you.